Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to our 2017 Asia Pacific Community Meeting. It is absolutely fantastic to see so many of you here at our new date and time slot. We've moved ourselves forward in the calendar, so you now have the privilege of being at the start of our community meeting season. So you're going to get all of the updates, all of the new data first, and we're so really very pleased to see so many of you here. We hope that you are going to have a fantastic time and a fantastic show. As you may have seen, we are providing translations. If English is not your first language, we offer 3 options on the translations. You can have Channel 1 for Thai, Channel 2 for Chinese, and Channel 3 for Japanese. So hopefully you'll be able to get the very best from the show. I am thrilled that we have 19 countries represented in the hall today. Because for me, this is the Asia Pacific Community Meeting. This is about all of you coming together with the PCI staff, with the security experts from the vendors, from the QSAs, from the brands, and getting together to talk about how we make payments secure. And that is the most important thing in a world where we are tackling global cyber criminals. It is on all of us to come together, to share information, to try and make the difference, to counter that threat. And it is a very real threat, as we've been seeing and we'll hear from during the day and tomorrow with some really excellent speakers. I'd like to start by thanking our vendors who are down the hallway. If you've not been down there for breakfast, if you just come out of the hall and turn left and walk down there, you'll see our vendor showcase. We have APSEC, BBSEC control case for Genix, ECQ, Security Metrics, Siam Secure and Verizon, who would be all delighted to talk to you about how they can help you improve your data security. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, our main sponsor BBSEC, and our general sponsors Zypro and Security Metrics. Guys, thank you as always for your help and support, because you help make this such a successful event and really help make the most of it. So thank you very much. As well as having the vendor showcase, we also have the brand offices. So if you've got a specific question that you want to ask one of the brands, or if you've got some technical questions that you want to ask the council, then we've got staff there, the brands have got the staff there. There are the times when they're open throughout each of the breaks, and do take the opportunity. You know, those guys will be delighted to answer your questions and really provide you with some help. I'd like to start by giving you a run through of our very full packed agenda. We've got some really good presentations coming up. We're going to start after I've finished here with our keynote presentation from our General Manager, Mr. Stephen Orfei, who's going to be talking about our PCI 2017 strategies. You'll hear it first here. We're going to then go on from that to a panel discussion. Our Head of Communications, Laura Gray, is going to lead a panel of some of the PCI senior team talking about some of the challenges that we're facing. We'll then go into our first networking break. You'll have the opportunity to go and chat and see the vendor showcase. Followed in by a good presentation from Security Roadmap for Next Generation Payments. You know, one of the things that always excites me about coming to the Asia Pacific Community Meeting is, you know, you guys push technology, you guys push new innovations, new ideas in payments. It's always interesting, and whilst we love to hear about those, we also like to understand what are the challenges that's going to bring in terms of security. So how can we help you from the Council's perspective bring these new technologies, bring these new payment ideas forward, and really do so in a secure manner. So enabling the card holders, the customers, to be able to use these safe in the knowledge that they're going to get a great product that's going to deliver to them what they want, fast easy, simple payments. And that is really what we're all about. Except for us, fast, easy, simple, and secure. You know, we've got to be focused on security all of the time, because, as I say, we're against global criminals, and we'll hear more about that going through. After that, we've got an excellent presentation, PCI DSS in the cloud. More and more of us are wanting to move our data into the cloud, which is fantastic. But again, you need to know what are some of the challenges, what are some of the weaknesses, and as you'll get a theme throughout the day and next 2 days, how are we going to do that in a secure way? How are we going to keep your customers' data secure when you're using the cloud? You know, it's a great way. We can help. We're going to work together with an excellent presentation that I'm really looking forward to. Following on from that is another fantastic presentation, Information Security Trends from our Operations Security Centre and Knowledge Base. Again, all of the challenges of understanding what are the risks, how do we do things securely, I do apologise. And then we'll be on to our lunch break. Following on from that, another packed agenda in the afternoon. Topics ranging from global payment security trends, migrating from SSL technology standards update, and various case studies. So it really is going to be a full agenda, and we'll hope you enjoy it throughout the next 2 days. At the end of the day, we're going to have a network reception down in the vendor showcase, and that's a great opportunity to talk about what we've been discussing today, to meet each other and share information. For me, one of the most important parts of the community meeting is talking to each other, finding out what each other's challenges are, and realizing that many of us face the same challenges, the same problems. And so if we can share ideas, share solutions, share information, and we can ensure that we really do make the very best from this. There are various seats scattered around. There's a few at the front, there's a few around here, there's a few more down at this side. Gents, if you just want to, you'll have to spread out at this point, I'm sorry, but they're about, so just please take a seat, because we've got a really good agenda for you guys, and we want you to be able to sit comfortably as we're going through some of this stuff. So after this evening, we'll be having a really good reception, and we can, you know, just relax and have a good conversation. If this isn't enough, if you feel this is just, you know, getting you started and you really want to learn more, then we've got our 3 other core events of the year planned. For the first time, the Council is going down into Latin America. We've got a town hall forum in Sao Paulo in August. And again, we really are now providing support and meetings globally, because we have to provide support globally because we're dealing with a global threat. Our main meeting in North America is in September in Orlando, and our European community meeting is going to bring up the end of the year's events in Barcelona in October. You know, if you fancy a holiday, if you're out there on business, then do come along. We'd be delighted to see you again. Now, without further ado, I'd like to get the show started properly by welcoming onto stage our General Manager, Mr. Stephen Orfei. He's been with the Council for the last 2 years, leading us, giving us strong direction, and he's going to talk about the PCI SSC's initiatives for 2017. So please join me in welcoming onto stage Mr. Stephen Orfei.
It's great to be here in Bangkok, and good to see so many familiar faces. I really do thank you for coming out, as they do here in Bangkok. It's my first time. The sights have been incredible, the people, wonderful, hospitality as well. So, my thanks. The purpose of this meeting is for us really to think about how we can interact with each other, how we can network. We're here to exchange ideas, talk about best practices, lessons learned, And I really want to encourage you all to network. We've got some real talented folks in the room, and it's incumbent upon you to make the effort, reach out, have those conversations, ask those questions. I also have my senior team here, and they're all up here in the front row. Please come on up, give us your thoughts, your questions, how we can do things better, how we can work together. Don't be shy is the message. So, and being from New York, I'm going to try and speak slowly to help the translation folks to the best of my ability. So I'll give it a fair shot. Now, it's interesting that we're having this meeting against the backdrop of an attack called WannaCry or WannaCrypt. And what you see up on the screen is an electronic billboard right here in Bangkok that was hacked, that fell prey to this ransomware attack. And as we're gathered here today, we're witnessing an unprecedented level of attack, one that we've never seen on such a scale. 150 countries have been impacted, and over 200,000 machines infected. And it's an indiscriminate attack. It is preying on poor digital hygiene. The good news is it's preventable. Many companies have gone on just doing business as usual. It's about keeping up on your patching, about filing your backup. It's about keeping your staff trained and aware of what's going on. The attack is unique in that it is both a ransomware attack, which encrypts the data, making it unable for you to access, and then holding you ransom to make a Bitcoin payment. And it provides those instructions to do exactly that. So, had you been up to date on your patching? Have you been applying good fundamentals, good digital hygiene? This would be a non-event. But it is a wake-up call to the global marketplace. What's also unique about this attack is it has worm functionality. So not only is the attack being leveled against systems, but then when a machine is infected, it has the ability to affect all other machines that are on the network. So that's got a new twist to it. And already, as companies are rushing to secure their networks, their machines, their infrastructure, the bad guys are already coming out with variants. So I think it's very, very purposeful that we're here against this backdrop. And really, that really, in my mind, speaks to why we're here. And that's to educate, empower, and protect. So I just thought I'd spend a few minutes on that, and then we'll get back to our regular programming. So with that, if I may, here's today's agenda. I'm going to take you through the PCI infrastructure. I'm going to speak to you about our global growth, how our footprint is expanding, the importance of collaboration. We'll spend a little time on the threat landscape against this backdrop of this malware and ransomware attack. We'll talk about providing new security solutions. We'll be talking about how the council is going to pivot strategically to take on different types of attacks, different initiatives, and different threats. Also, we'll be looking to secure payment data together, because that's what it's really all about. How we can work together as a community. You all are the folks on the front line, and we're here to support you and to equip you with the best tools and education to take the adversaries on. So, if I may, let's talk about our infrastructure. Simply put, our goal is to make payments safer. Our goal is to secure payment data. And we have the world's most effective standards, best practices, and subject matter experts working collaboratively with industry to give you the best of standards and guidance to protect payment data. We're just not a standards body per se. Many standards bodies just are concerned with writing that standard and issuing it. We go beyond that. As I mentioned, we do standards, we do best practices, we do certification, education, we have laboratories. We look at the entire payment ecosystem and how to secure it. So no matter how you come into this space, how you're going to transact, it's our business to ensure that that is secure. So we do everything from looking at the equipment, to the software, to the environments. So at the point of interaction, whether that be a swipe, whether that be a tap, or a dip, or a form factor, a mobile device, a terminal, however you come in to transact, we are here to ensure that that payment data is processed securely, stored securely. And no matter what channel you come in as well. So if it's the face-to-face environment, be it mobile or telephone environment, or online. And we'll have quite a bit of challenges ahead of us in a card-not-present environment. We currently manage 9 standards. And we have another 5 in development that I'll speak to in a little bit. But as you can see, we take on all of the real big challenges that face the payment ecosystem. We have standards for payment applications, payment terminals. We have payment card production. How do you produce a card? How do you install a microchip processor? How do you do that securely? How do you issue tokens properly? How do you do point-to-point encryption right? So we have those standards along with best practices, and those are just some, most of which are familiar. And of course, the DSS standard, which many of you know intimately. We have a broad certification program. And we do this for our approved scanning vendors, for our security assessors, for our forensic investigators, the rock stars. We train those folks as well that actually do the investigations when things go sideways. We have payment application assessors, point-to-point encryption assessors, qualified security assessors, and as well as the QIR community, the qualified integrator and reseller certification programs. So we have a lot of hands-on certification work that we do in addition to training. All of our material, all of our educational material is for free, and it's all available to you. It's on our website, and I would encourage you to give that a look-see. We have educational materials. We have a wonderful website that we've reworked. It's much more user-friendly. It takes on the challenge of getting the technical person to where they need to go, as well as the new person on board trying to understand what PCI is about. We've got an emphasis on infographics. We find that that's a really good way to reach the community, in particular the small and mid-sized business community. We look to serve up advisories on these recent attacks. So information has been out there around even ATMs, even around malware, ransomware, how to do the password thing correctly. So we've got a lot of advisory information, and we look to get that out to make it actionable intelligence to the PCI community, to all of you folks and the entire ecosystem. We're also using webinars effectively. We had an outstanding webinar last year that we did around the hospitality industry. Here is an industry that is under attack. So we pulled together some of the best resources, some of the best and brightest minds, and we had a wonderful exchange of ideas on showing where the data is, how do you protect it, what are the things you should look for. And we're going to continue to use the webinar format for that purpose. This year, we're looking at the airline industry and travel industry in particular. I also think that the medical and healthcare industry could certainly use our help, and we'll try to get to them as well. Let's talk about our organization. So you see some of us and you encounter us from time to time, and this is our executive committee. So our executive committee, and this is whom I report into, is made up of the 5 payment brands. And the chairman this year is from American Express, Mike Patan, who I'm delighted to say is with us. Mike's right here in the front row, and he'll be leading a panel discussion later. Gina Gobin from Discover. Gina's actually with PCI since its beginning, back some 10 years ago. Lib DeVera is here from JCB, and Lib representing the JCB organization. Bruce Rutherford from MasterCard, and Kartik Patel from Visa. So as you can see, the 5 payment brands, fierce competitors, have come together to secure the payment channel, to secure the payment ecosystem, to do the right thing. And they're some of the best and brightest minds in the industry, and the talent that's also behind them to help us do our job and provide strategic direction to the council. This is my executive team, what we call a senior team at PCI. So Troy Leach is our Chief Technology Officer. Troy is based in Phoenix, Arizona. Jeremy King, who you just had up on stage kicking off the meeting, is our International Director from the UK. Maro Lance is our Chief Operating Officer. Maro is based in Chile. And Mark Mesner is in from our DC location, and he's responsible for all of our marketing and public relations. And so as we talk about our infrastructure and our organization today, it's also, I'm pleased to tell you, we're actually 36 people. So all the work and all the standards and the best practices and the work that we're going to talk about and the interactions we have is made up of 36 folks. And we have an exceptional business partner called Virtual, who puts on this show and makes sure that everything happens with precision. And they provide us with back office support. So that's how the council is structured. We have now a board of advisors. Our board of advisors is made up of 29 participants. And as you can see, some of the biggest brand names in the industry, in the space. We've got folks like Amazon, Starbucks, Cisco, PayPal, Citibank, just to name a few. And around this table with us, is we rely on these good folks to provide us with their insights, with their strategic guidance, with ideas on tactics. What are they seeing? What can we do better? Some of the best and brightest minds, again, in the industry. We also have companies here that operate in Asia. For example, Starbucks, I believe, has already 169 shops that operate right here in Thailand. We'll have a new board of advisor, Mark Koutsajanis from Coles Group Limited out of Australia. He'll be playing a key role in representing the needs, the requirements, and the challenges that are unique to this region. And we're delighted to have him on board as we launch our new board of advisors in the June timeframe. Now, one of the ways that many companies can participate, and I would encourage you to give this some thought, is our participating organizations. It represents all industries across the entire system. And that is an excellent way for us to ensure that we're getting industry input and feedback and comments on our work product. So all working together to collaborate to build the best possible standards. That number is now up to 816 and growing. Another good sign that people are coming into PCI and taking a seat at the table, providing input. And that's invaluable to us as an organization. We have 49 POs in this region alone. And so Jeremy King will be talking to you later today about how you could be a PO. Think about it. We'd love to have you at the table. We'd like to have your thoughts on our work product, and perhaps you have the time, energy, and bandwidth to contribute and make us better. Our global structure. So we've talked about the executive committee, we've talked about our board of advisors, the senior team. Now, what does our infrastructure look like out there on the ground, across the globe? So we have over 2,000 QSA companies. We have 1,800 ISAs, companies. We have seen certification programs for the PCI professional really bump up recently. Another very good indicator. People are interested in making this a priority and building in security as business as usual. We have over 2,600 PCIP certifications. We now have qualified integrators and resellers, 893 companies that have come through our process to be certified, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. We've got some 299 ASDs, and we have another 179 PA, payment application QSAs. So a pretty significant amount of folks committed to this space, taking on our adversaries, doing the right things, and protecting the merchant community, the consumers, and our infrastructure. We also have 9 laboratories. So all of the products and solutions that we list on our website have been vetted through our labs. There's 9 of them distributed around the world for the purpose of vetting solutions to ensure that they deliver on their promise and that the merchant community can come to us in confidence and know that if they pick a solution that we have listed, it will deliver on its promise. And having these labs available in these different regions of the world, of course, is all about being a global standards body and serving the different marketplaces. You know, I've been in this position now for 3 years, and perhaps the biggest lesson learned is around collaboration. What we can do together. We have a unique challenge here. Our adversaries are skilled, they're patient, they're persistent, and in some cases, they're well-funded. In my mind, collaboration is the only way forward. We need public and private sector to work together. We need to share information, provide actionable intelligence. We need to work together because it's not an adversary that we can defeat by simply passing a legislation or laws. We have to all come together and take them on. And that's what this community is about. You guys are really that front line. So we must expand also into new markets, and we're doing that. I'll talk to you about that as well. We have some key regional collaborations that we have been working on for a couple of years now. Good folks down at Australia Payment Clearing Association. These folks have been tremendous help to us in representing not only this region, but being at the table and really contributing some really good time, work, and effort into our standards, and we're grateful for that. We work with the JCDSC in Japan, and they've been enormously helpful to us in translating documents. A big push on expanding globally and being able to collaborate is that we have all of our documentation in language. And that's actually grown to 8 languages at this point in time. We also work with Reserve Bank of India. We're starting to see some movement in that marketplace and a desire to come into the PCI fold, and we're very encouraged by that. We work with Interpol as well, and we also work with the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. So again, in each region of the world, there's lists just like this that apply to Europe and North America and Latin America, where we're looking to build this level of collaboration and cooperation and do the right things to protect payment data. We also work with law enforcement. And as you can see here, you've got the U.S. Secret Service, Europol, Department of Justice in case of the U.S., Homeland Security, FBI, Interpol, Europol. The idea here is to exchange information and work together on how we can take on the bad guys. And a very good example of that is QIR. So the QIR community are the qualified installers and resellers. These are the folks that the merchant community depends on to install their payment applications, to install their payment platforms. Now, in our work with the U.S. Secret Service, they had conducted over 400 investigations over the past year. And in those investigations, there was a common point of compromise. And that was, and it's not to say that there aren't a lot of QIRs out there doing an outstanding job and doing proper installs that are buttoned down with the principles of PCI. But in the situations where a compromise had occurred, what we found is that the install was done poorly, that the default passwords were left in place, that all the ports and services were turned on, regardless if the merchant was using them or not. So Secret Service came to us and said, hey, PCI, what can you do about this? We need your help here. Good example of how we came together. So we immediately put together a certification program. And we've already put through some 800 companies through that process. And when you do things like that, you take risk off the table, real-time risk off the table. And if you get that install done right, that merchant can have that confidence that they're in a better place today than they were yesterday, as opposed to they thought they were more secure now, and instead things are wide open. So a real-life success story on how we can share information, how we can work together with our friends in law enforcement. One of the things that I think is really important to PCI and to the community that we serve is the small and mid-sized business community. This is really a unique challenge. They don't have the budget or the resources or the subject matter expertise to take on these adversaries, to take on these attacks. My goodness, they look at this material, they look at the InfoSec talk that you all speak regularly, the acronyms, the payment acronyms, the law enforcement jargon. They have no idea what we're talking about. And as a consequence, they throw their arms up and just, we're going to throw the dice. Hopefully it won't be hacked. The mentality, it won't happen to me. So we formed a small business task force 2 years ago. And the purpose of that task force was, how do we speak to this market segment? How can we talk to them in layman's terms? How do we simplify security? How do we explain this whole dynamic on how payments are processed, how you can do it securely? And we produced some really, really good work. We produced our small and mid-sized business guidance that has been exceptionally well received throughout the marketplace. And the other thing that's funny about it is it's so well done that it works very well in the executive suites of most companies. It really simplifies for the executive group as well how payments work, because this is a unique space that we operate in. Now, this task force was co-chaired by Barclaycard in London and an organization in the U.S. called the NRA, the National Restaurant Association. So we had around the table the payment brands, subject matter expertise, PCI talent around the table, and then we had industry with us, actual small businesses and companies. They came in, worked with us, day in, day out to produce this guidance, and it's exceptional. I'd urge you to take a look at it. It's available on our website. I think we may even have some to pass out in the forum. Okay, so we're going to continue to focus on small business. There's a lot of value we can bring to that market segment. International collaboration. You know, we're here in Bangkok, in region, and we're here to help you and to protect data. And it's no different here than it is in the other theaters, whether that be Europe or the US, Latin America. The challenges are the same. And so we're here with you for that purpose. We're seeing some very good momentum in the marketplace. In this region, Japan has mandated PCI. And we're working very closely with our friends at JCB and a lot of institutions throughout Japan to help them implement their vision of PCI in country. They're preparing for the World Cup. They're preparing for the Olympics. They're rolling out EMV as we speak. And so there's quite a bit of challenges going on. And Japan is committed in moving forward, and we're doing everything we can to work closely with them to make that happen. As I mentioned, we're also producing all of our documentation in language. That's going to help there in Mandarin and Japanese, and Portuguese and Spanish, and we support 8 languages at this point in time. Very important that we be able to give people material that they can read and feel comfortable with. We're also expanding into Latin America. We've got a focus program right now on Brazil. How do we bring Brazil into the fold? And I'm happy to say that's going exceptionally well. Latin America is one of the new pushes for the council. We're working in Chile as well. I mentioned our COO is down there, Meryl Lance. We have a director now on the ground in country in Brazil and working with that community. We've also got recognition from Mexico recently. That was a big step forward. And now we see India has reached out and wants to come into the fold. So we're seeing some really good momentum and some expansion, and that benefits all of us. Now, the threat landscape. How do we keep current on this threat landscape? Well, there's a number of ways we do that. One is we have the payment brands that have an upfront view of what's going on, how the bad guys are attacking, and how we can defend against it. We get strategic and tactical direction from our payment brands and the executive committee. I mentioned we have the 29 Board of Advisors that also provide us with their insights. You know, the ability to be able to pick up a phone, call Amazon and say, hey, what are you guys seeing out there? What's going on? What's your concern? Anything new? Anything innovative? And to have that expertise at your fingertips and to have that kind of dialogue is brilliant and makes us so much better. We also have our QSA community. We have the forensic investigator community. And all of that feeds into the council so that we stay up to date and we understand the threat landscape as it evolves and will continue. Very important to us as an organization. Funny though, if you look at this list, the evolving threats, this list hasn't changed all that much. It's still, this list probably applied 7 years ago, 10 years ago as well. We still have the challenges around password. SQL injection, perfectly preventable, still a problem. Spear phishing has gotten much better. And we all know that because of social media. You can now do significant research on someone like myself or any of you in the room and be able to look at our backgrounds and direct an email message that might get me to click on it. So social media, with all of its good, like the internet, it also brings some other elements to the table. So we're seeing some very sophisticated spear phishing attacks. We also see it being very successful at the executive level in corporations. Seems executives are very quick to hit the old email, click on the attachment, and give it a look-see. The malware attacks are becoming more sophisticated. The anti-malware software, it's hard to keep up with so many signatures that are out there and that are in play. In fact, what we're starting to see right now is organized crime is using malware that they used 3 to 4 years ago, because the current anti-malware softwares, those signatures, it can't list all of those signatures. So we'll go back and replay. Anything for low cost, attack the low-hanging fruit, and any way in to monetize data, in particular payment data. The remote access vector attack, it's been there, it still remains some of the biggest reasons why we have compromises. Poor patching, as I spoke to earlier, against this ransomware attack that's unfolding as we speak. Poor patching, just keeping up to date. You know, Microsoft identified this attack back in March, and they put out a security bulletin. Microsoft 17-010 is the bulletin that defends against this ransomware attack that's currently in play. Card not present. In this region you've been in an EMV environment. There are other parts of the world, as I mentioned, Japan is now rolling out EMV. The United States is rolling out EMV. And when EMV is rolled out successfully, and it will, over a period of 1 to 2 years in both nations, you'll see that the fraud and the bad guys will migrate to the card not present environment. We're already seeing that. And we'll talk to the importance of 3D Secure in a bit. Contactless payments, account takeover, man-in-the-middle attacks in the e-com environment. This is business as usual. These are all the attack vectors and threats that have been with us pretty much from the get-go. And what you got to start thinking about is, how do we build this into business as usual? How do we start thinking about security as a 24/7 responsibility? It's not something we do quarterly or once or twice a year. It's got to be top down in an organization and across, up and down in an organization to be effective. So these are some of the challenges, and those are some of the reasons why we're going to be talking about how we move to take these things on. There's some good news out there, and I believe Verizon will touch on some of this perhaps later today. If you look at PCI compliance, in particular in the level 1 and 2 market segments, over the past 3 to 5 years, you would have seen compliance running at a rate around 20%. In the last 2 years, that's bumped up to 37%. That's a huge gain. That's really encouraging news. And it's clear to us, why is this happening? I mean, it has to do with a lot of the good work that you folks do day in and day out. Certainly, we've got our burden to bear and our services to provide, and we're out there doing it. The payment brands are doing their thing. But what we also see is that the executive, the C-suite, is now on board. Right? This is an executive priority. This is an organization's top priority in corporations around the world now. They get it. They understand the risks, the reputational damage, the lost business. And so we're starting to see some very good movement there, some really encouraging stats. Again, talking about security, we've got to move away from a compliance orientation to one that looks at risk 24/7, business as usual. And Council is now in the process of making a pivot. And our focus is going to be on simplifying security solutions, developing our global partnerships, providing guidance on both emerging risks and new technology to become this educational resource for the marketplace. Looking to the future, you can expect us to be less prescriptive, more outcome-oriented, looking to simplify again. We recognize that there is not just one path to data security. Businesses have different risk models. Acceptance channels have different models of risk as well. And we're looking at developing risk-based modular approach frameworks. How can we look at a merchant's environment where they're at in their life cycle. What technologies have they deployed? And how can we put together a modular framework to address that risk? If an organization is deployed properly, point-to-point encryption, tokenization, EMV at the point of sale, how do we now look at that space? What are the real controls that need to be applied in that environment? And so we're working on that. Again, you're going to also see us focused on software frameworks. As I mentioned, in the EMV environment, as that rolls out, fraud will migrate to card not present. There's a solution now coming out. It was released by EMVCo in October. It's 3D Secure Protocol version 2. What this protocol does is it allows the cardholder to be authenticated all the way back to the issuer. And in the past, in 3D Secure, it did that too very effectively, but it was working with static data. So you fill out your shopping cart, you put in your information, your credentials, and then you were asked a certain question to authenticate yourself. You're at this merchant spending this amount, please authenticate. And you did that, and that was a big step forward. And so now our efforts at the council are going to be, how do we wrap security around the 3D Secure Protocol? How do we do those implementations properly? And then how do we ensure that that data is protected throughout that transaction? And we're moving to dynamic authentication data. And this protocol will allow for that channel to happen. So you'll have the ability to look at GPS location. You'll have the ability to take a selfie. Let that prove as an authentication method. To use the biometric that's already built into many mobile devices. And different device signatures as well. So the issuer will have the opportunity to authenticate the cardholder with this very, different types of data, dynamic data, and the cardholder will be protected, and the merchant will be extended a payment guarantee, a win-win for all. Software security framework. I think it's fair to say that everything is software dependent, and that's the direction the market's going. So I think the future of payments is moving clearly into the mobile space, and software is a big driver of that. So we have already put together a software security task force for the purpose of having a dialogue with the software app development community. These folks are in tremendous pressure to deliver new products, new apps to the marketplace, things that are cool, slick, timely, intuitive, and then somewhere on that list, security is somewhere down here, maybe around number 5. So what we're doing is we're assembling industry to come together, sit around the table, and develop a software security framework standard that we build in the security up front and that we can preempt these attacks down the road. Today, the mindset is get to the market, get the product out the door, we can fix it after the fact. But if we provide this industry guidance, I'm sure we'll preempt a lot of these attacks. A very important dialogue and a new role for the council to have more of a software focus. Mobile. I mentioned, I think we can all agree, and particularly in this region, you guys are the innovators in this space. They're true entrepreneurials in the mobile space, coming out with new designs, new technology, new approaches day in and day out. Very impressive. We're out here also working with industry and our mobile task force to figure out how do we secure this channel and what are the things we need to do. One of those, 3D Secure, will have a role to play in securing the mobile channel. Token service providers, providing that token securely down to your mobile device so that you can use that as your credential. We've already developed that standard. We're working on an over-the-air provisioning standard, and we're working on something we're calling right now PIN-on MPOS. How do you protect the PIN on the mobile payment point of sale? Also, you know, some of our thinking around mobile it's in its infancy. And we're going to put out best practices and industry guidance, and when it makes sense, and with industry with us around the table, when it does make sense, we may arrive at that standard at some point. So now we're looking at, we've got all these mobile device endpoints out there. How do we secure this device? Devices that are inherently insecure. Can we look at these endpoints properly? How do we secure the PIN when it's keyed in? How do we encrypt that data? How do we know if that phone or that mobile device has been jailbroken? Can we look at how it's been tampered? All the different things that we can apply to managing these endpoints will be built into this standard to secure the mobile point of sale. A huge undertaking, and we've got some really great talent, again, around the table. And the idea is, particularly in this region, if you're interested in working with us, think about joining us for that purpose. You know, one of the common goals, as the technology evolves and as the emerging technologies come into the space, and the attack landscape and the threat landscape evolve and change, but you know what? We have the opportunity. We might not be able to stop a breach, but we have the ability to devalue the data. And we can do that with 3 technologies if they're deployed properly. EMV at the point of sale, point-to-point encryption, and tokenization. If you devalue the data, then you make it useless in the hands of criminals, organized crime, and the bad guys in general. I mean, their motivation, in most instances, is to monetize the data. We've seen other attacks around personal data. I get that. But it's all about monetizing for them, and it's about the easy target. So, if we do this properly, we can really thwart their efforts. We have a QSA community that many of you folks in the room might be with a QSA organization. And we're looking at the challenges around how do we provide that consistent, best possible QSA service to the entire ecosystem. The Wall Street Journal reported about a deficit around qualified security professionals. Maybe some of your kids are in college, and this might be a good trail, a good career path for them to pursue. So we're looking at how we improve the quality and consistency, and then how do we ensure that our industry has enough professionals to serve its needs. So our programs must evolve and adapt, and we're looking at this deficit very seriously. How do we get new blood, new talent to come into the payment industry and provide services, to provide them with a career path, to help them enter this space and provide security? That's what this program is about. How do we bring new energy, new faces, new talent into the payment space, equip them, educate them, certify them, and give them a path of growth? So you're going to see this program unfold in 2018, and it'll be phased in. Small merchant guidance, our focus on small merchant will continue. I touched on that earlier. It's the right thing to do. We'll continue to work to simplify security with these folks. We'll be working with industry to develop all-in solutions where the merchant can just drop it in and not have to concern themselves with all of the technology, ideally. And we'll also look to advocate outsourcing to organizations that are properly PCI compliant. So, we're here to serve you. That's what the council's about. It's about us helping secure payment data, but it's us, we're here for you to give you the best tools, the best education, the certification programs, the latest and the greatest that we can possibly do. So I just want to say thank you for coming out. I appreciate all the good work that you folks do day in and day out. If there's absolutely anything that we can do better, let's have that conversation. Let's have that dialogue. Let's listen to these speakers. We got some great subject matter experts speaking today. We got great talent in the room. Let's maximize our efforts. Okay? So I hope that with that, I gave you some ideas on where the council's going and why, and some of the challenges that we face. So that concludes my opening comments. I thank you for your time.